Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Welcome to the first Everything in Bloom on the 8th of 2020. So all good stuff. I'm doing this in bits today because I've got stuff all over the place and some things I'm going to have to move to be able to film them. So we'll start over this side for once. We usually start the other side. And the large purple Vanda is still open, still in bloom, but is starting to go. Now this has got two spikes. There's another spike up there. So it's got two good spikes. Oh, that one's looking nice with a tiny little bit of sunshine on it for a change. That bright light in the sky that we haven't seen for flipping ages. So it's still looking good. It's still hanging in there, but I suspect its days are beginning to be numbered. The blooms open successively, probably over a period of a week or maybe even heading towards 2 weeks, so it will take at least that long to go over. But yeah, still looking good at the moment. I'll do pop-ups with names and things. I obviously don't need to do pop-ups of blooms, do I? But I'll add the names in. Saves me remembering them, especially with that one, because it's a complex hybrid, that one. Then coming down here, we have the Nelly red velvet that's looking absolutely stunning. Good fragrance on this. It's not powerful, doesn't fill the room or anything like that. You've got to get relatively close, and it's a citrusy fragrance, sort of bordering on lemon, but not quite lemon. I think the original Nelly Islas, the ones with the heavily patterned lips with other colours on, has a more genuine lemon fragrance, but this one's citrusy, I'll say, and lovely deep red colour that I can see already on the screen. The camera is brightening it, so it's actually a deeper red than this. It's a gorgeous velvet look to it, and it's all in the name, you know, Nelly red velvet, so it's all in the name. My little dancing lady type, which is, well, it was Oncidium sweet sugar. I think it's now Gomessa or something or other, but it can stay as an Oncidium as far as I'm concerned. Keep messing about with these names, gets on your thrupneys. So that's looking nice. That spike's coming off in a day or two. I need to get the plant growing, and it's highly unlikely to start another new growth while it's in bloom. So although it's already bloomed, so most of the energy's gone into the spike that it needs to do, maintaining a spike still uses up resources. So and also a lot of Oncidium types, the new growths are triggered by the blooms coming off, either dropping off naturally or being taken off unnaturally. So that's those. The Dendrobium glomeratum, I'm impressed. This has now earned its keep. The blooms are gorgeous, I knew that, but this hasn't bloomed for, I think, nearly 3 years. Two lovely clusters. This is the larger of the two. Gorgeous colour, and they're lasting. They're lasting incredibly well. So an unusual blend of colours, really. You wouldn't, purple and orange don't normally go together, but Dendrobiums seem to get away with it. So it's got a deep orange central lip that's like a tunnel, yeah, or funnel or whatever you want to call it, and then surrounded by the purple with the veins. So that gets to stay now. That was borderline going down the road on the grounds that if it had been a short-lived set of blooms, it probably wouldn't have earned its keep, because it's I won't say it's a large plant, but it's a long plant. It's one of the ones that, you know, has got to have a lot of hanging space. I mean, this cane is probably 2/3 of a metre, and it's got two new growths coming. It hasn't got a very good root system, but it'll work on that with those new growths as the better weather comes. So that's that little set. Right, coming along this side, there's two Twinkle cinnamons there, larger one and a smaller one. The yellow one didn't make it. Oh, you've missed your chance, mate. It's going to be open in a day or two. But the two cinnamon ones are in full flood at the moment. They haven't been open that long. Very good fragrance on that one. It smells like Terry's chocolate orange, which sort of goes with the colours, I suppose. And then coming along here, the Cymbidium is going. Obviously this spike opened several weeks before the other one, and I believe this was the first pair of blooms to open, so they're the first two to go. But that spike's virtually gone now, so I'll take that one off when I get out here doing maintenance. But the other spike's still looking good. That one's hanging in nicely. We should have another couple of weeks of that, I would think, and then it will be down on the floor until it goes outside, which it certainly won't be doing until the night temperatures are guaranteed. Can't risk it otherwise. Coming in here, we're going to have to move some stuff now. This is my only full-size Paphiopedilum, and this is Maudiae. This has opened over the last couple of days. A lot of people are not impressed by this because it hasn't got all the reds and the purples and all that sort of stuff on it. But I like it because it's simple. It's just two colours. It's just green and white. It's still got the hairy bits, you know. So it's got all the classic features, and it's a good size. But it's a simplistic colour form with just the two colours on it. So that's looking nice. That will be out quite a long time, I suspect. And then down here, the Dendrobium Alexandrae. This is probably going to get in at least another one, because the blooms just last and last and last, which is one of its bonuses, really. Very unusual shape, although in amongst the Latorias this shape does sort of occur quite frequently, with the crinkly petals and virtually recurved sort of shape to the lip. Gorgeous colours in the lip, the deep purple on green, and then the top part is white, and it's still got some green in it and some purple, and it's got some coloration on the outside of the lip, and then you've got this gorgeous spotting on the back. These look good before they even open in the bud stage, because effectively the three sepals are the bud, and they've got this lovely spotting on them. So this is even attractive before it opens. Alright, so that's that one. This Oncidium Tahitian dancer is still in full flood. These seem to be lasting quite well. And this has got a good fragrance. That's the Sotoanum parent in it, I suspect, doing most of the work. But good colour, good purple, fading to a lighter purple with that yellow centre that sets it off nicely. And they're not large blooms, but it makes up for it with numbers. And this has currently got 4 spikes on the go. The other two decided to arch over, and you know what I'm like. If they want to do that, I usually let them. Now coming up here, the Twinkle Red Fantasy is dropping blooms like they're going out of fashion. So this one's nearly over now. It started to bloom in the centre and here, and you can see this is where most of the blooms have fallen, and the last few spikes to open were around this side, so they may last, you know, another week or so. But on its way out now, you know, it's done its thing. Quite a good blooming. That'll come back into growth soon. And then above that is the tiny Twinkle with the white blooms. The fragrance on that is there, but it's nowhere near as strong. But it's there. It's certainly got a good fragrance to it. It's just not as strong as perhaps the cinnamon version. The Red Fantasy had good fragrance as well, reasonably powerful. But there's a lot of competition for fragrance around at the moment. Some Cattleyas nudging their way in as well at the moment, or Cattleya types. So yeah, so that's the last of the Twinkles that are open. The other yellow one in the pot, that's not opened yet. So the yellow ones are last this time round. Right, that's the end of that little bit. Now let's get some more moved around. It's bordering on embarrassing even showing this plant, but I've said many times my Latoria has had a bad time over the last couple of years. I mean, this one does have a new growth, but it's not doing well at all. These were the end of season new growths, and they're far from happy. So the plant's not doing well at all, but it's managed to push out 2 blooms on an old cane. No tag on this, but I'm pretty confident now it's bloomed. This is actually polysema crossed with abberans. Reasonably confident, because obviously the Latorias had bloomed in the past and I've taken pictures. And looking at the pictures I've got, that's what I think this is. Again, Latoria type, heavy patterning on the rear, and in this case, not much going on the inside. I'm going to have to put it down to get it to stay still, or this thing's never going to focus. So the inside of the blooms are a delicate patterning. What you've basically got inside the lip is some very delicate purple veining, and not much else on the inside of the bloom. Quite small as well. That'll probably be the abberans influence. But nonetheless, if I can get the plant to recover and get some reasonable new growths during this season, some of these older shriveled canes can come off, and then that will improve the look of the plant for future reference. But it's not doing very well. But these growths that failed did actually produce some viable roots. So with this one, it's just a matter of keeping it alive through the winter, and then it should start growing again once we get the better weather. Now this will probably be the last look at of this one forever. This is going to the Orchid Society on Saturday. Keel over, why don't you? All that with no hands. And I'm hoping not to bring it home. I'm far more likely to get somebody to take it on as it's in bloom. Some people really like this sort of botanical of botanical interest type orchid, because quite honestly the blooms are interesting but tiny, and it's got a good few and it's still got some to open. Really surprised that bloom. This was just a freebie, just a sort of bare-rooted piece thrown in a box. But it's managed to grow and it's managed to bloom. So hopefully that will be of interest to somebody on Saturday, and then that will be the end of one. It doesn't do much for me. I think it would grow well for me and turn into a large plant, but the blooms aren't going to get any bigger, are they? So it doesn't have the interest for me, but it's in bloom. Right, it's coming along here. I'll let you into a secret. I'm doing this in sections so that I can hold the camera in certain areas without other areas getting on film yet, because I've got a couple of surprises to end with. But the Cattleya jenmanii, the blooms are still hanging in there. They're not showing signs of fading just yet, but I don't think they're going to be around too much longer. And then we've got this lovely Tolumnia here, which is Golden Sunray Sunrise. Very attractive and a good colour changer as well. All the veining appears after it opens. When it first opens, it's basically yellow and deep red, just a 2-colour. And then literally within days, this veining starts to show and get deeper and deeper in colour until it gets this gorgeous orange veining around the edge, which with yellow and red is bordering on perfect. Absolutely stunning one, that. The little Cattleya tucked in behind it, these blooms are just starting to show their age now, and it's been open a long time. It's bloomed a couple of times in the past. Little lemon drops crossed with whatever is in the pop-up, because I can never remember that one. So looking good there. And I'll include the Hibiki purely because there are still a couple of blooms, but it's I was going to say if I touch them they'll probably fall off, and hey presto, they did. I think that's classed as gone now, so we won't dwell on that. It's had its day. And then coming up here carefully, not to get my secret in shot, the Tolumnia Peach is opening. And this is going to do the same as the previous Tolumnia. It opens almost pure yellow and deep red, and then the peach comes later. This has only been open a few days. We've got 2 spikes, both with opening blooms, and a 3rd spike over here that's just starting to crack the buds. So this is going to be around a while, and I think that's the first Tolumnia I've ever had with 3 spikes at the same time. So looking good. There are some other Tolumnias with spikes on, but they haven't even formed their buds yet, so they'll be a while, but they'll be with us soon. Now this little mounted Phalaenopsis nearly always gets forgotten. Well, I remembered it this time. Now this has dropped a couple of blooms, but this is interesting looking at the progression. This is an old bloom, and this is one that's just opened. Look at the difference in the patterning and the colour. So when this one opens, it's at its best, and then gradually it fades to losing its patterning and a lot of its depth of colour. So this one fades gradually into the distance and then falls on the floor. But as I said, that's a newly opened bud there. Very attractive little Phalaenopsis. Not my favourite types of orchids, but in amongst them there are some gems. This one I like because it's small, lives okay on a mount, and the spike just continues. So yeah, very, very attractive little plant. Now as we've waited so long for this, it would be a shame to forget this one, wouldn't it? The Dracula Bella. One bloom open. This lovely little wobbly white bit. Good size on Dracula Bella, and I do believe the other 2 buds, I think one of them is going to blast and the other one is probably going to open. I don't know how much longer they're going to last though, that's the thing. Draculas are not long lived, but while we've got it, it's attractive. Very attractive. So and I haven't got many Draculas, and this is the only one that's ever bloomed for me, and I think I'd have to class this as its 2nd blooming because it's had a long break where it decided to abort its flower spikes, and I can only put it down to the heat basically. Can't be much else. So yeah, looking good. Very interesting patterning, and the camera won't pick it up, but it's hairy as well. But they're very fine hairs. You might just catch them on the edge of here, but yeah, it's got little tiny hairs all over it. Gorgeous bloom. And this is the first of the surprises. My Maikai's opened. This just snuck up on me basically. I knew the spikes were growing, but it just opened in the background because it lives behind other plants near the glass to get the light. I hadn't really noticed it coming out. Now this opens dark, very dark, and it pales as it ages to almost white, but it takes a long time because these do last well. So yeah, a nice initial showing. These blooms are not even fully opened yet. They basically all started together. That one looks fully open. Beautiful colour in the lip. You can't really fault that. It's got a pale greenish tinge towards the base of the lip. Very, very deep reddish purple spots right inside the lip, and then this gorgeous purple patterning on the lip. And then the petals and sepals don't show much patterning initially. Their patterning comes later, which is strange. But anyway, we've got quite a few spikes on this, more to come. This one's just started to open. Another spike down here and another one there. So the average number of blooms for me this time round is 3. This one sort of showing off a bit with 5. Fragrant this as well. Probably not where it is at the moment, it's too far away, but yeah. A pleasing little winter bloomer, this one, and regular. Did the same last year. I think I had 2 spikes last year. Although it's grown quite a few new growths, and I think it's grown 5, maybe 6. 4 of them have bloomed, and I think 2 may not. They may just bloom late, I don't know. And this hasn't grown as well as I expected, but it is growing. And I think the next season along, it's going to start pushing on. and pushing on into quite a large mature plant. But yeah, doing okay, and nice set of blooms, and they'll be with us some time. Of course, I've now got to find a place for this, because if I put it back where it was, we won't see it. So I need this somewhere where I can see it, then we can watch the colours change and everything as the blooms age. And this would have been a very easy one to forget, because it's got its back to me and it lives up in the roof. Dinema polybulbon has decided to push a few blooms out. Now I'm not going to be able to get close into these, so I'll add a pop-up with a still that I took a while back. Very pretty, delicate, tiny little blooms. Yeah. It's difficult to describe the colours. I'd say a straw colour with a deep brown, and then a white lip with like a yellowish green stripe down the centre. I won't be able to get close in the light that I've got. As I said, the pop-up will serve its purpose, but yeah, it's got a couple of blooms down here and then the couple up the top. So that's not a mass blooming by any means, but it has got quite a few more buds forming. I can't remember how long they last. They've only just opened, and the fragrance on this is like marzipan. Always reminds me of Christmas cake. And it's not strong, you know, it's not powerful, but if you get close enough, it's a very, very pleasant, or for me, a very pleasant fragrance. But you've got to get close in. So yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. Took that down to water it, and I knew there were buds, but you know, as I say, just 4 blooms just popped out almost overnight. So that's that one. And the last one for today, kept the best till last. Mind you, that's probably subjective and a matter of opinion, but it's my grow room and I've saved the best till last. So, well, there it is. It's impressive, isn't it? Playing games. That's just the plant. Let's go and find the blooms. We'll go up here, we'll go up here, we'll go up here, and then we'll get there. But you don't want to look at that spike. What you want to look at is all over here, because I can get closer to these because I'm short and they're not in the roof. This is Laelia anceps, and I still can't explain in words why this is special to me, and I can see the camera's not showing the true colours on here. The coloration in the lip is just gorgeous, and the patterning, and the most delicate magenta colour. Yeah. So oops, just kick the heater over. So we've actually got 6 blooms out on that. These are not long lived, but for me they're just special enough that if they only lasted 2 weeks, I'd probably still keep the plant, because the plant grows quite well for me, and it blooms okay. It didn't actually bloom on the previous 2 growths, because I played silly bees and basically read and heard from other people that it's a cool grower. So I put it right down low where it would get the cool fresh air coming in from the inlet fan. Unfortunately, that deprived it of the light that it needs, and that was the overriding factor. So by playing with the temperature, inadvertently I altered the light, so those 2 growths didn't bloom. So for the last season and the latest 2 new growths, it went back up where it was before, blow the temperature, because it never seemed to have affected it in the past, and put it back where it gets the light, and it's responded with 2 good spikes. So there we go. We've been waiting for that for rather a long time, but you know, I mean, those canes, sorry, spikes are 2/3 of a metre long. They take a while to get that long. They don't exactly rocket away, and then the buds have to form, and so there we are. As far as I'm concerned, saving the best till last. I don't know how close I can get, but so there we go. Laelia anceps, and it's still one of my favourites. And as you can imagine, with that in the room, how difficult it's been to try and get round and film everything without those getting picked up on camera. That's why I've been sneaking around doing it in bits. Anyway, thanks for dropping by. Everything in bloom on the 8th. I haven't missed anything. Well, I have actually. There's a couple of Restrepias in bloom, but I'd have to dig them out and everything. So I've left those. We'll catch them another time. I've got to give the Restrepias a bit of a tidy up so that they look better, because they're getting a bit tatty with all their old flower spikes. So I'll do that as a video sometime soon, not now. And yeah, see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.